Excellent. Barb, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out for the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You bet. So before we get into your podcast and your work, I want to know this. I always start out with this
hmm
question. 6 years ago, five and a
hmm
half years ago, this pandemic changed everything about our lives. How did you get
hmm
through that era, and how has it changed the way that you approach life and work today?
I actually thrived during that time. So I already co-worked and worked at home a lot. So I was used to working at home. I was used to working on Zoom. And I used to think I was an extrovert. Now I learned that I am an ambivert. So I'm an extrovert who needs a lot of alone time and I live alone. And so I just really did a lot of kind of like nesting. I'm a connector by nature, so I connected with a lot of people and I was able to really spend more time on like writing and longer term projects that I hadn't been able to do. I had a part-time job that went from 20 hours to 10 hours. So I added those additional 10 hours to working on my business. But I think just like everybody, I'm still craving in-person connection with other people, which is one reason why I'm at a friend's house. We meet once a week for co-working on Zoom, and we wanted to be in the same physical space together because there's just something about the energy of being around humans. And I think that like a lot of people, I don't feel as connected as I used to feel.
So, did you start the podcast during the pandemic?
No, I started it in March of 2019.
Okay, so you've been at it for a while. Isn't it
Mhm.
weird? Because I've been doing it since 2011. Weird how it just exploded during that pandemic era.
Mhm.
And I,
Mhm.
I never would have thought. But do you feel like podcasting is kind of an extension of socializing? I mean, I know it's virtual,
Mhm.
but it's
Mhm.
such a wonderful realm
Mhm.
of intermingling between humans and celebrating
Yeah.
who we are. Do you feel like that?
Yeah. And I think like I can speak to that, especially from people who know me that are my friends that don't live near me, that listen to my podcast and read my newsletter. They feel like they're still connected to me,
Yeah.
though I don't necessarily feel like I'm still connected to them because my podcast, every 10th episode I have a guest, but they have to be someone in recovery. But other than that, they're solo episodes, and I'm just sharing what we call it in recovery is my experience, strength, and hope from recovery. So I'm often telling stories about my own life. And so people, even if they don't know me, they feel like they know me. So they're connected to me, even though I don't even know them. So I think like in that for my particular podcast, but the same for me when I listen to other people's podcasts on a regular basis, I feel like I know them,
Yeah.
and then if I ever get to meet them, it's like, oh my God, I feel like I know you. And you do, you really do know people. And then when you hear podcasts that have guests and you hear their stories. So I think it is a way. And the other thing, there's a certain intimacy to podcasting because I'm often walking around with the earbuds in my ears in my house, cooking. Like I'm doing like you're in my everyday life with me. You're in the car with me. You're in the bathroom with me. So there's a certain intimacy to that too.
I remember growing up, and one of the first times I ever felt that was with Casey Kasem,
Oh
listening.
my God, I loved him. I
But
loved him. Sunday nights.
yeah, but you know what's so weird about that? All that time, I had no idea he was the voice of Shaggy.
Okay, so when I learned that, it was like,
I
oh my
know.
God.
Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Like in
Yeah,
this
yeah,
modern world, you can't escape just this
yeah. Yeah,
overload of facts. But when we were
yeah.
growing up, it was just like dun 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 dun. We would just
Yeah.
have a
Right.
very limited palette of things to get involved with,
Yeah.
but we didn't know
Yeah.
they cross-pollinated. So
Yes,
it's
yes, yes. That's
it's
so funny that you brought that up because as soon as you said his name, I thought, actually, what's Scooby-Doo? I was like,
yeah,
Scooby-Doo. Wasn't
yeah.
he more than one voice on
Yeah.
that
Oh
show?
yeah. Yeah, yeah. He was
Yeah,
very
okay. Yeah.
diversified. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
for sure. So, you're a boundaries coach, you're an author, you're a speaker, you're a podcaster, you got all these things, these titles. But if we
Mhm.
boiled it down and I put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at career day, you're in a school and the kid in the back of the room is like, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
So I help people see the things that they're doing in their lives that are not really working for them and then learn how to change the things that they want to change. So, for example, if you want to say no to somebody, but you never feel like you can say no, I help them to understand how they can come to say no and still feel good about it.
You know what's interesting? I think that's one of the biggest things, just like what we were talking about, having horn of plenty in this modern world of ours. I mean, you used
Mhm.
to go in the grocery store and have like two or three choices for mustard or ketchup. Now you
I
got
know.
5,000.
I know,
So
it's insane.
so living in 2026 means that you got to have boundaries. Our brains
Mhm.
have to find a way to put, I mean, Wander Wonder's great, but when it
Mhm.
comes to like functionality, there has to
Mhm.
be these parameters so you don't go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think that what came to mind when you said the mustard thing is I used to work with a woman who had been in the Peace Corps in Cape Verde. And she lived with deprivation for the 2 years that she was there. And right after she got home, she cut her finger and she went across the street to the pharmacy to get a bandage and had a meltdown in the bandage aisle because there were so many options. And it was like a cultural shock to her, even though she grew up here with lots of bandages. Whereas, like when she was in Cape Verde, where she was, there was like cloth that might be dirty, and here she had all these options. And that, it just goes to show like we get paralyzed when we have too many options. And like the thing about like when we build personal boundaries is we're deciding what are the choices that I'm going to choose from. I'm not going to allow myself every single behavior that a human being can visit upon me. There are only certain ones that I'm going to allow, and I'm in charge of it. And so learning to build healthy boundaries is not I can make them stop being the way they are. It's I can stop putting up with that. So maybe that means I don't go around them anymore. That's an extreme boundary, and that does happen sometimes, but it's, more like managing how you're going to handle it. So maybe instead of cutting someone out, you just spend less time with them or you spend time with them less frequently because you can't turn them into someone else.
Yeah.
And I think that what a lot of people do, actually, there's a proverb I learned before recovery that I thought I knew what it meant. No, I didn't. And I think it's Chinese proverb. It's easier to put slippers on your feet than to carpet the world. And that's pretty clear when you're
Yeah.
talking about slippers and carpet. But what we're talking about is human beings want to carpet the world of other people. Like the world has sharp, jagged edges. We'd love to put a cushy carpet on it. That's ridiculous. You couldn't do it. Put slippers on your feet. But when it comes to other people, we want other people, places, and things to be the way that we want them to be.
Yeah.
And we can't carpet the world, but we can put slippers on our feet. So, what are the slippers you can put on your feet? So, maybe it's like not going to those certain places, not hanging out with those certain people, not engaging in certain kinds of behaviors yourself rather than expecting everybody around you to change. And I had absolutely no idea that I was expecting other people to change. It was a subconscious drive that I had, and I didn't understand a lot of what I was doing, especially my people-pleasing behaviors were attempts to control. I was trying to control what people thought of me. I wanted them to like me or to at least approve of me, if not like me. And now I can live with people not liking me. I want people to like me, but I don't like with claws need them to like me the way I used to.
But it's interesting, those 2 points you bring up, the subconscious and conscious mind, and
Mhm.
like leaning back on that desire to have approval from everybody. I think you have to be alive long enough, and I think you have to have some kind of level of wanting to evolve because you do
Mhm.
naturally get to that
Mhm.
point. Because the
Mhm.
vanity of youth is just a hard place because you want
Mhm.
all that acceptance, you want all that stuff.
Mhm.
But it's also interesting about getting older how the subconscious really does lead a lot of things. It's like all of our personality traits are developed by 3 years old, right?
Yeah.
So a lot
Mhm.
of those things that are a part of that early, and we can't remember a lot of that
Of
stuff,
course not. Yeah, yeah, of
but
course
it's
not.
still
Yeah.
interwoven into our DNA
Mhm.
structure of
Mhm. Mhm.
socializing and leading our lives. So
Yeah.
before we leave that little spaceship of 12 years old, I want to know, what did you want to be at that age? What was your dream
A
career?
pharmacist.
Okay.
My dad was a pharmacist.
Okay.
And then I took eighth grade science where we had to do chemistry, and I was like, nope. Nope.
You know what's interesting about that? I I did not have to take chemistry in either high school or college to graduate. I don't know how I did it, but I was like, I just knew that it was going to be difficult. But guess what
Yeah, it was
happened?
hard. Yeah.
The karma found a way when I became a young father. I got a pool in the backyard, and
Oh,
all
you had to do chemistry.
be careful what you wish for, kids,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
waiting to find you. So,
yeah,
what were they? So, are you from Connecticut originally?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so take me back to your beginnings. Speaking of that before 3-year-old thing,
Hmm.
what were
Hmm.
the foundational elements that have allowed you to
Hmm.
become who you are, to coach and to help?
Yeah, yeah. So what I now know, because I'm in a 12-step program called Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, which I didn't know I qualified for, is that I have childhood trauma. And it's a result of intergenerational family dysfunction. And I thought when I started hearing that, that it meant like I got the shit beat out of me or, I was in a hurricane or something. That's what often people call big T trauma. Little T trauma is relational trauma. So this is I call it the continual like drip, drip, drip of emotional invalidation. So it's a result of sometimes physically being abandoned, which was not the case for me, but usually emotionally being abandoned. So not having the kind of like nurture and validation. And don't get me wrong, my parents loved me. And just because you have dysfunction doesn't mean that your parents didn't love you. And the result is that I developed all kinds of patterns, like the people pleasing pattern. It's a pattern that, codependence is a result of trauma because we're trying to create safety. I don't just want people to approve of me. I want them to not reject me. I want them to not ridicule me or humiliate me or abandon me. That's why I'm doing it. So I developed these survival traits. And actually, in the ACA program I just described, they have a list of the 14 traits of survival traits of an adult child. The list is affectionately called the laundry list.
Yeah.
And not everybody has all of them, but when I got in the program and I read the list, I thought I had 7 of the traits. I actually have 13 of them because I just was so out of awareness. Even though I had been in therapy since age 15, I read a gajillion self-help books. I did the workshops and the seminars and the retreats and the spiritual work and the support groups. I did all that work. And I feel like for me, Joe, that work like scratched the surface of the iceberg of my life and recovery melted the iceberg of my life. So, my dad was a college student. I was 4 when he graduated. So he had gone to college, then got into the Air Force, met my mom, married her, had my brother, had me. Then he went back to college. And I remember going to fraternity parties and my brother and I sleeping on the bed with the coats. And then when my parents bought our house when I was 4, 4.5, they would have those parties at our house. And my mom never drank, but my dad drank pretty heavily, especially, when he was a young man. And there was I did not feel safe. I don't remember anything horrible happening to me, but I didn't feel safe. And I remember like they were so loud and they couldn't hear me, and I just wanted to go to sleep. And, I remember my dad also having like what felt like impossible standards. It was like the finish line was, or the whatever, the standard was always moving. And just not feeling like I now know that I was living mired in fear my entire life. I never knew that until I got in recovery. And the fear was people. And it was specifically what I just mentioned, being rejected, being ridiculed, being abandoned. And in my family, teasing people, using sarcasm, humiliating, making fun of people was standard operating procedure. And when I was a kid, we used to have this saying, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt me. That is so bullshit. That
Right.
is so far from the truth.
Agreed.
Those wounds last forever. Like I remember as a kid, my dad, the thing that he would say that would just kill me, he would say, I'm disappointed in you. And I know like he was trying to say you can do better, but the message I got was you're not doing better. And I remember thinking as a kid, I think I'd rather that you hit me because hitting stops, disappointment lasts forever. So at the same time, Joe, I lived in a home, like a house with a yard. We always had food. My parents had jobs. So I had the material things of life. And my parents were good and decent people. And they taught me some really good values. So I don't mean to paint a picture that
I
it
get
was
it.
all negative. It was not. I had an amazing childhood with lots of kids in the neighborhood. So it was a mixed bag, as I think it is for most people.
Who was that hero, that inspirational force that's allowed you to find your way, to discover all of this, to heal and to evolve to where you're helping people?
That's a really good question. Um, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I think, okay, I'm gonna say this, and I don't give a shit what it sounds like. I've become my own hero.
That's totally valid.
I have become my own hero because I have surmounted every single obstacle that has ever come my way. I mean, we all have. You're here. You've survived 100% of the crappy things that have happened to you, but I've become my own hero. I truly believe in myself in ways I didn't know that I didn't. I thought I liked myself. Maybe I did. I didn't love myself. I didn't trust myself. I didn't have self-worth. And I've built that. I really, truly love and like myself. I believe in myself in ways that I just didn't know that I didn't before. And I know that I can handle whatever happens. So I would say I've become my own hero, but I've never really thought of myself as having a hero before. So thank you for that question.
Yeah,
I will percolate on that.
absolutely. Yep, the coffee is
Yeah.
brewing. So, when the alarm clock goes off in the morning, what gets you going? Because you have to deal with people and people can
Mhm.
be messy,
Mhm.
but you have
Yeah.
to protect yourself. What is that
Yeah.
energy every day?
Yeah. So I almost never wake up by alarm clock. I mostly wake up by myself. But I do sometimes set an alarm when I absolutely need to be up. I am a growth-oriented person and have been. It's not even a value that I have. It's a part of my beingness. And I have the transformations in my life have been absolutely radical. And I didn't even know that I needed them. And I want that for other people. So, like, I target professional women who say yes when they really want to say no and who neglect themselves because they're so focused on others. So, some of them know that stuff has got to change, and some of them are know what needs to change, but some of them don't realize like how bad things are. And so I want for other people, not just professional women, but for everybody to really live a life where they have happy, healthy relationships, especially with themselves and with other people. And I'm just driven by that. I am someone who has an enormous amount of energy, but I also know that I have even more energy than I did before as a result of boundaries, partly because I'm living the one life, mine, I'm not living in other people's lives. I do way less of things that drain me and way more things that fuel me. And I don't feel selfish by it. So I don't, I just, I'm just driven and I feel like it's a calling. It's not something that I chose. It's something that chose me, but I'm delighted to have been chosen for this work.
So, when you think about the word retirement, when that big word in the Hollywood Hills comes flying at you, what do you think?
Mhm. No, not that I'm not retiring. I will
Yeah,
always be contributing in some way, shape, or form.
amen. I get it.
And I intend to live to at least 104 because I was 52 when I got into recovery. And I would like for half of my life to have been someone in recovery.
That's
So
awesome.
I have 42 more years at least of life. And
Yeah,
so I intend to be productive that entire time.
I love it. So, let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight and ran into the 18-year-old version of you, and you walked up and you had a big book in your hands, and you handed it over, and that young version's confused, and you said, "This is the life you've led so far," would that young version of you believe it?
No, no.
Would you give any advice? It wouldn't create a ripple in time.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I wouldn't have listened to the
That's
advice.
the other
So,
part of it.
yeah. I thought you were going to ask me what would the book be? Like what book would you give your 18-year-old self so that
Right.
they could, change their path and stuff? But I don't think my 18-year-old self, I was high and drunk all the time.
Yeah.
I was looking for like I always worked because I needed an income. Like I was taught I have had an income since I was 11. Like you need to have an income. And also I used it to like get high and drunk and stuff. So I was very myopic when I was 18 years old. So if you had ever told me that a life of like, clean, sober, abstinent living is way better than I called it partying. That's not what partying is where you have fun,
Yeah.
not where you get wasted. So I don't think I would have listened, but um I think I might have said like you get to have your needs met. You get to follow your desires. You get to figure out what your desires are because I was such a chameleon. I didn't really know what was okay and not okay with me and what I liked and didn't like. And it's okay to figure that out and follow that.
So when you talk about growing up and that level of things that were, stressful and traumatic, if you could go back into your family lineage, anywhere in the line of humans that made you and talk to somebody, would there be someone you would want to talk to that you didn't get a chance to get an idea, a sneak peek as to what happened in this generational lineage?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it would be my father's mother. Well, the story of my family is she was orphaned at the age of 8, but her dad was still alive. He just abandoned them.
Wow.
And she and her brother and her sister all got put placed, let's put it that way. And my grandmother got placed with a woman that she called Aunt Mary. And the way that she talks about her living, it was like she was an indentured servant.
Wow.
And so she was like when I was little, I just loved my Grammy Nangle. But when I got to be like a tween, I started to realize this is a very bitter woman, and she really served for me as what not to be like. So I would not just want to check in with her, I would want to coach her
Yeah.
so that she could have a better life and my dad could have a better life.
So of everything that you've done, overcome, and become in your life, what are you the proudest of?
My emotional sobriety.
Yeah.
Yeah. I and showing up for myself, just having my own back. I mean, I kind of didn't know that I didn't have my own back my whole life.
So let's go in a little further with that question, that answer, I
Mhm.
should say. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your
Mhm.
perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm a spiritual being um, on a mission to heal the world.
So if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one event in human history with your own eyes, watch it unfold. It won't create a tear in time. You just get to see it happen. Where are you going?
I think it would probably be to meet Jesus or Buddha. Um,
But
but I don't know I just would want a conversation with them.
I think about that answer because it happens here and
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
Do you think the magnitude of that would blow your mind?
If I came with the knowledge I have here and went back there, yes. But if
It
I
would
went
have to
there,
be.
I ran into this guy on the
Yeah,
street, his name was Jesus, or his name was Siddhartha Gautama,
yeah,
I doubt I would have any idea
right.
of gravity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but with all of the human
Yeah.
history of
Yeah.
where we've come to and how
Yeah.
magnanimous they are in our
Yeah.
development, yeah, it would be
Mhm.
wild. So if anyone is ready for the next step to ask questions, hire you, reach out, any of the
Mhm.
good business, where do they
Mhm.
go?
So they go to barbchat.net and they can book a 30-minute say no without guilt call with me. and I will help them figure out like what's going on, what needs to change, and whether I can help them or not.
Okay. So as a speaker, I got to know what's the best speech you've ever witnessed in your life?
Oh, uh, s- that's I mean, I'm gonna have to say I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King. And I don't even remember like all the words of it, but I remember being like feeling like he was in the room with me.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
saw Bill Clinton come through Kansas City about 20 years ago, and I
Yeah,
still remember all of the things he talked about.
no kidding.
When he opened that door up, the chlorides in that room just absolutely
Yeah.
changed forever. It was the coolest thing. This has been great, Barb. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you for your story.
you.
Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. I will put links to everything, podcast, everything
Okay.
that's going on in your life. So thank you again, and best of
Okay,
luck with
great.
everything.
Thank you so much, Joe.
You
Happy New
bet.
Year.
Happy New Year.